All right, well, welcome everyone to Super Saturday Training. My name is Dr. Steve. I'll be your host today, and it's always an honor and it's a pleasure to share and just tidbits of nuggets, my experience and whatever helpful piece of information I could share with you, to help you, really just uh, get a different insight, I will say, on our different perspective on different industries, on life, and whatever it may be. Today I'm going to talk about something that's it's a little unique, a little different, right? We're going to look at the whole concept of how should I say this? Smart wealth. I'll just put it that way, smart wealth. Why decentralized finances is the key to I'll say consistent financial growth. We talked in the previous trainings in regards to performance and execution, creating systems, and importance of creating personal systems for growth, personal systems for achieving small milestones in whatever goals and whatever dreams, aspiration, whatever it is you set forth for yourself in life or business. But today I'm going to pivot in my thought process and what I'm going to share with you guys. If you watch any of my social media, I'm big on manifestation, on believing in the God I am within you to manifest and truly harnessing the power of your mind and capabilities and just really manifesting through writing through you know speaking through visualization. So there's certain key principles to all those, and I'm very big on just connecting your divine self or your spiritual self with who you are and your journey on the earth, and really manifesting why you're here on the earth. But one thing that I've often had a challenge with, and I'll say it's a challenge, not with me, but it's a challenge with people understanding, and especially with, I would say, quote unquote, religious folks, okay? Because I have to be specific here in what I'm saying, because there's a difference between religion and spirituality. And in a lot of these trainings, and even some of the information I've shared in the past, in terms of visions I've received, different downloads I've received throughout the years. And in 2017, of course, I got this whole spiritual download on tokenization of pretty much anything, right? And that's where we are. That's the era we are in, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But I got to go back and share and lay a foundation for this message and this training today. And I won't take long. But I remember through through these transition from Web 1 to Web 2 to where we are now, right? Web 3. And if most of you, because I think most of you will remember this, but when Web 1, was introduced, that was back in in the 90s. I was actually at Microsoft. I remember that to the 2005. But it was a static web, if you remember, right? That was the birth of quote unquote the World Wide Web. You remember? And that was the early stages. I mean, the websites was static. You really couldn't do a whole lot on it. You could just read. You could like read. That was the beginning stage of Yahoo, right? You just read newspapers on there and what have you. But and then there was like personal pages on GeoCities, if you could remember all that. But you know what? We went from Web 1 to Web 2. And I used to tell and train, look, if you understood these paradigm shifts that are taking place on the earth and you position yourself to capitalize on the trends, right, it would create wealth, true wealth. I mean, that era, Web 1, created so many millionaires and multi-billionaires, guys. And let me tell you how they did it. The ones who could foresee websites, I remember at that time, would cost like what, like gosh, 10,000, 20,000 to build a website because no one really knew how. So the ones who had the skill in the beginning stages of Web 1, I mean, made a lot of money. And the ones who understood the power of a domain and the asset it was started buying up domains because they knew eventually people would want domains. So it became a I mean, a huge business. People became multimillionaires just buying and reselling domains. I remember a story, someone bought BillGates.com and tried to resell it to him for $1 million. Of course, he didn't buy it. He's Bill Gates, right? Why would he need to buy his own name? But that's a true story. But if you understood that transition from prior to that, into Web 1, positioning yourself to capitalize on the growth and make millions, millions. Some made mil billions, right? And then we transition to Web 2. Now, you remember the era of Web 2? Web 2, right around what, 2005 to present, we're in Web 2. But the social web, that was the birth of everything transitioning to the cloud. We started hearing about um, about the cloud. And, one of the things with it is with the cloud, that was the birth of Facebook, that was the birth of YouTube, that was the birth of Instagram and Twitter, right? So all of a sudden now, the internet became interactive, right? We could do different things, we could post content, we could be creative. All right, that was Web 2. And again, for the ones who understood Web 2, saw the transition, embraced the transition, made millions, if not billions, because this was the birth of all these major companies. You bought stocks before they went IPO, and they made out great. So we have to look at now the changes, right? What's changed, right? Social media's changed, user generated content has changed. Likes, comments, we interact this way, we share, apps are changing, the smartphone, have now become our mini computer, right? That's how we all form. So, and cloud computing now is becoming a thing. So we now have shift from Web 1 to Web 2, and we're in the Web 3 era, guys. And if, again, you can embrace it, understand it, right? Many of you, and many have already in the world, have become multi-millionaires, if not billionaires already from this transition, And so today, what I'm going to share is information on a different thought process. Let's just put it that way, okay? Because we have to look at Web3. The trade-off is, it's free, but data is the product now, right? Because, in Web 2, all our data went into the cloud. Now the data is transferring where? To the blockchain. So, you can create the content, you own the infrastructure, right? And you can monetize it because it's your data, you own it now. So Web3 now is emergent, is a decentralized web. We need to learn about it. Web3 is built on the amount of blockchain technology and ideas, that users, you and I, can harness, own our own digital asset. We could participate without relying on centralized companies. For example, now there's a lot of association with these different blockchains, like Ethereum. We look at the cryptocurrencies era. We look at decentralized apps, right? Which is a lot of us are involved in a lot of decentralized apps. So the core idea is decentralization, is digital ownership, it's peer-to-peer transaction, it's smart contracts. And we're going to talk a little bit about this in conjunction with another piece I'm going to add to the whole equation for you to understand. So instead of logging into Facebook with an account where they control, right? Because they control your data. I mean, all these platforms in the web to control your data. Let's be real. You don't control it. They can literally kick you off, ban you, lock you out, your own page, your own content you've built for years. It's happened to me before on Facebook. Years of building content and to get locked out of my own account for something I didn't do and couldn't access all those assets that I had in there. See, but Web3 is changing those things, right? So that's what we have to understand that, you know, in the app, by using a crypto wallet, you are in full control. So the reality check is Web3 right now is still evolving. We could agree that because I mean technology is forever evolving, right? It's promising in theory, but in the okay, but in we're still early and sometimes confusing, and I understand that. So my goal is to break it all down for you, unpack it the best way I can as we move on with these trainings. But in simple analogy, Web 1 was you read the newspaper on the internet, right? That's what it was made for. Web 2, you could post on social, interact on social. Now Web 3, you own a piece of the platform. It's your digital assets. So I just wanted to give you a backdrop, give you a foundation to jump into what I want to jump into. So I'm going to go ahead and um, stop share here. Oh, one more thing I wanted to add, before I get started is simply this. Guys, Solomon, the greatest man on earth, right, asked for four things. He asked for wisdom, he asked for knowledge, he asked for understanding and discernment. Okay. I'm gonna incorporate some of that in my training today. And a people group perish for what? A lack of knowledge. And we have to understand knowledge is power. When you gain a greater understanding right? When you get the knowledge of whatever the topic matter may be, you understand it better, right? And if you understand it better, you're going to make wiser decisions. And that's why I want you to have an open mind and look at Web3 from a perspective of an advantage to you, to where you could literally set yourself up and your family and loved ones, for success, financially in many different ways. And I'm going to talk about those different ways here. Let me pivot. I'm going to share my screen real quickly. Share screen, share screen, share screen, and share screen. Uh, okay, there we go. Okay, I'm going to move some stuff out the way that's blocking my view, and there we go. Presentation. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is smart wealth. Why decentralized finance is the key to consistent financial growth. Okay, so many of you know about the parable of the talents. I'm going to use that as an analogy, right? But automated yield. So multiplication for divine financial stewardship. And this part right here, okay, what I'm about to share, guys, I have spoken to so many people throughout the years, from Web 1 to Web 2, even now into Web 3, from 2015 up to this point. And a lot of them just don't understand the space, right? And if you understand it and you could learn, just get a greater understanding of where the shift is taken. Look, the earth is shifting. We are in a paradigm shift right now. This era of Web3 is going to create more multi-millionaires and billionaires faster than any one of these shifts that take through from Web 1 to Web 2 to where we are right now, in a very quick way. So you have to understand it. You have to really embrace it and learn it. Okay, don't just brush it off because you don't understand it. Get the understanding, right? Before you knock a thing, before you brush it off, and understand where we're shifting. The banking industry as we know it has already shifted. They just got to get with the program, but many banks around the world has already shifted, right? You guys remember the term CBDC, right? The central bank digital currency. Well, many banks already had it. The US had already developed their own CBDC. They just didn't implement it. But now with the new government, you can see what's happening. They've embraced this space, Web3 and AI technology and cryptocurrency, and want to be the mega hub of it, compared to like other countries that are now embracing it. So all I'm saying is have an open mind, embrace it, learn it, and guys, you will not regret it. So let's jump right into it. So bridging ancient stewardship and decentralized finance. See, we bridge the gap between ancient stewardship and decentralized finance by deploying AI-driven liquidity protocols. Okay, we transform the parable of the talents into a scalable yield multiplication framework, moving beyond manual labor into automated asset dominance. See, by coding divine principle into smart contracts, we reclaim our authority and multiply resources for global kingdom impact. You see, this part right here, since 2015, I have been sharing that we could use the technology for good. And I often say, you put $1 million in the hand of a person with a good heart, they're going to do a lot of good things. You put that same $1 million in the hand of a person with a bad heart, they're going to do a lot of bad things, right? That's life, and that's the world we live in. There's good and evil in this world. But we could harness this technology to make impact in humanity, make an impact in our lives and our loved ones, right? Give up the 9 to 5er and follow your dreams, right? Let your dreams become a reality, not just a dream. A dream is only for so long until you put action to it, where it becomes a reality. So the core idea is stewardship is a systems principle. See, in the gospel in Matthew, the parable of the talents describes servants entrusted with resources, right? Two multiply what they were given, one preserve it out of fear. So the lesson is not merely moral, but is structural. See, each servant had entrusted capital, a time window, accountability, and expected multiplication. So that's stewardship system. So I'm using it to give you an example of how we could use these biblical principles in today's technology, and it's a win-win for everyone. See, bridging ancient stewardship and decentralized finance. For most of history, multiplication required trade routes. It required agriculture, labor networks, physical presence, right? And if we go back to the beginning of time in Genesis, right, we were given dominion. One of the ingredient of that dominion was multiplication. And that's what we're going to focus on is multiplication. And there's many ways we can multiply. But today, decentralized finance allows capital to operate in a programmable environment. So the bridge is this. Stewardship principles can now be encoded into anonymous financial infrastructure. Okay. Many of you are already in the space and understand it, but I'm giving you a different perspective on it. So from parable to protocol, right? Reframing the parable into talents as a yield framework. So the parable teaches us these three principles. Capital must not remain idle. Multiplication requires deployment. Fear-driven preservation leads to what? Stagnation, right? It doesn't yield anything. So in traditional systems, multiplication is slow and it's labor intensive. In a decentralized finance, which is the world we are in today, multiplication happens through liquidity provisioning, automated market makers, staking protocols, yield aggregations, right? So the equivalent of putting money to work is deploying assets into smart contracts that what? Generate transactional fees, earn staking rewards, capture arbitrage spreads, and then reinvest returns automatically. So, when you look at the whole Web3 world, I mean, it spreads across a broad a range of platforms where we can automate our money, where our money could be working for us, whether it be auto compounding, whether it be auto trading. There's many different frameworks that are now being built that are in existence, and then we haven't seen anything yet, guys. We are in the infancy, literally in the infancy stages of this whole industry and this yield framework that I'm talking about. But the difference is automation, and that's the key, automation. Okay, if anything, I share in this training is the word automation. Okay, your money working for you through automation, right? Instead of manual managing growth, let the code handle it. Okay, so we're going to talk about AI-driven liquidity protocols. This right here, again, we hear the word AI and everybody freaks out. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of religious people like AI, oh my God, the devil, stay away. No, slow down, learn what it is. Sure, there's a lot of speculation of how it could be bad, but look, we could also utilize it for good. AI technology now could help you expedite it'll take you a year to do, you could literally do it in a day or two. Okay? I mean, you could collapse time. You could write a book literally in a day or two with AI technology. There's so much you can do. Now you take AI and plug it into the finance world, guys, you're talking now about, I mean, generating millions in a very short time. Many of you have done it, have made within this space. I want to venture to say thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions in this space of DeFi, this whole Web3 web, I will call it, right? So what this actually means is this. Liquidity protocols allow users to supply assets into pools that facilitate trading. In return, providers earn fees and rewards. See, AI-driven protocols can dynamically rebalance assets, optimize capital allocation, adjust risk exposure in real time, and then identify efficiencies across chains. So relocating liquidity to higher yield environment. So that's the power of AI and what it does for you. They're learning machines. They're thinking machines, right? So we give it the right information to think about, the right information to I will say, spit out for better lack of word, right? It will do what it tells you to do, what you tells it to do. So this mirrors the stewardship at scale to observe, to discern, to reallocate, and to multiply, right? So this is this. All right, I am pivoting to my other screen and I'm hoping you guys can hear me because that one just went out. Can you guys hear me? Let me see here. Yes, okay, beautiful. All right. Good thing for a backup, guys. See, I knew that one was going to do that to me, so we will continue on. I do have, let me share my screen on this one now. Let's see here. Let me find here, there we go. And I'm going to share my screen here. Share screen. I'm going to come back here and pull it up. All right, there we go. I just got to find where we were. Okay, I think we were here. I believe so. Okay, so we're just going to continue on. So yeah, so this mirrors stewardship and scale, right? So only now, let me make sure I can, I got stuff in my way here, and I believe it's still recording. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. So I double check here. Okay, so carrying on. So only now much of that discernment can be modeled and automated, right? So when understand me, okay, I understand the spiritual aspect. When we talk about discernment, we talk about spirituality, we talk about talents, we talk about stewardship. I get the spiritual meaning and understanding of it. I want you guys to look at it from a different perspective when it comes to stewardship, that these smart contracts, these automation, these softwares are doing exactly the same thing, right? So when you think about discernment and you personally having spiritual discernment, these machines, right, is actually discerning everything for you because it's actually researching, is getting the information for you and it's automating it. So AI becomes an analytical layer, smart contracts become the execution layer, and blockchain becomes the trust layer. See, so together they form a self-adjusting multiplication system. All right. So that's what I want you guys to get and understand that this blockchain with now the smart contracts we've been talking about, or you may be hearing about with a layer of the AI, this right here, this multiplication system is what I'm talking about. You are earning money in your sleep. You are earning so much money you get to pay off your debts. You get to, I mean, literally clear off your debt, take care of your family. I mean, guys, listen, finance is a tool. Money is a tool, and we need that tool. All these nonprofit organizations that are out there, they're out there begging for money, right? Now, there's no excuse with this technology where we can harness the technology through automation to earn, right, through these principles to now fund your cause, whatever it may be, whatever nonprofit, whatever church, whatever, and that's what I want you to grasp as an understanding. Okay, coding divine principles into smart contracts, turning values into logic. Spiritual language becomes powerful when translated into system rules. For example, okay, principle, first fruits, right? So the code implement in this case would be, right, automatically allocate a fixed percentage of yield to a treasury wallet, right, before profits distributed. So think about it. Your first fruits in the Bible, 10% is what it said that you should give back. You should donate. You should tithe. That's your first fruit. 10% goes out first. In the coding language, all I'm saying, automatically allocate a fixed percentage, if it's 10%, of yield to treasury wallet, which means it'll be a staking contract. It could be an auto trading bot. It could be whatever, right? Before the profits is distributed. Okay, principle, community benefits. So in coding language, route treasury funds into a DAO, control governance system for community voting, right? So now we're creating the global community around this smart contract. We're creating the global community around this new era, this new, a DAO really is just a community where you have a voice, you have a vote. It's like building a local community where you vote on, hey, should we rebuild the playground? Hey, community, should we, repaint the church? You see what I'm saying? So you're the physical in conjunction to the digital. All right, principle transparency. That's a big one, right? And code implementation. All treasury movements are visible on chain. That's a beautiful thing about a blockchain. It's all visible, right? There's no cooking the books behind the scene. It's no shenanigans going on behind the scenes. There's no non-profit organization, kind of moving money around, right? Without proper verification or permission. You know how that goes. Transparency. multiple signature wallets for spending approvals. See, this is the beauty of the blockchain. You could set it up that way because you can't move a penny without if you have it set up for multiple signatures, right? So these are just different code implement to traditional, um, principles. Okay, let's talk about accountability. That's a huge one. Code implementation. Well, immutable transaction records. I mean, once the records on the blockchain, they're on the blockchain. I'm sorry. There's no going back and erasing and fudging numbers, right? You can do that. See, time locks on major protocol upgrades. So that's the beauty of it. The upgrades take place, everything's upgraded. Guys, so I'm giving you a different perspective, right? Once values are encoded, they are not dependent on moods, right? It's like, I'm going to do this for you today because I'm happy with you, but gosh, don't rub me the wrong way because I might take it back. I might go and, adjust those numbers. I told you 1,000, but I'm giving you 100 right now because you did me wrong. No, 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 no. It's not about moods because they are not dependent on memory. They execute consistently, and that is disciplined stewardship when it comes to the blockchain technology. Okay. Now, moving beyond manual labor, the shift from effort-based income to system-based income. So manual labor income requires presence, stops when you stop, and scales slowly, right? So this is exchanging your hours for dollars. You get sick and can't go to work, you don't get paid unless you get sick pay at work. See, these are the things that we don't think. We weren't designed, guys, in reality, right, to be working a 9 to 5. God gave us a gift, right? Gives us talents. We all have an assignment. We all have something to do. We all have a destiny, things to accomplish. But time robs us of that. And the time robs us why? Because of several of things. Work is one of them. And the plan, the system set up is to work 40 hours for 40 years and retire. We know that's not true. We know that's like a fantasy because you're working so hard every day. They've already calculated it, right? That your 40 hours work week. Matter of fact, I think it was Henry Ford that did this calculation and said, look, they're going to commute 2 hours, right? So they did the weekly calculation. They're going to commute. They're going to, work 40 hours. Then they have the responsibilities at home, and then they're only going to sleep for so many hours, and you repeat that day after day for 6 days, 5 days a week. Well, on the weekend, you think it's a weekend to have time off, but in reality, it's a weekend to just recoup for one day. And then here comes Sunday. So Saturday you're in recoup mode, right? Because you work so hard all week. And here comes Sunday and you're trying to crunch everything into the day and you realize, oh my God, it's time to go to bed. I got to get up for work in the morning and you're dreading it. You don't want to go to bed, but you have to go to bed. And all of a sudden you go to bed stressing, wake up stressing. And of course we know stress, what it'll do to our body, right? But now I'm just sharing some reality with you guys. But look at protocol-based income now. It runs 24/7. It executes globally. It scales proportionally to capital and participation. So this is the automated systems I'm talking about, right? That you set it and forget it. Let the system, let the technology generate income for you. Not you having to work for money, but let money work for you. See what I'm talking about? So this does not eliminate work. It changes the type of work. Instead of trading hours, you focus on designing systems if that's what you want to do, or find the systems or protocols where you could plug in your capital, right? Auditing logics, managing governance, refining allocation models. But the energy shifts from physical output to strategic oversight, right? So that's all this is doing for you. So what asset dominance really means is we talk about dominion, right? We're talking about dominance. Well, we're looking at the dominion now in the world of AI technology, in the world of Web3 technology. So the phrase can sound aggressive, and I get it. I get it. It can be scary too when you start thinking about it. Because a lot of people are afraid because they don't understand. They shy away because they don't understand, or they'll put up the cross with their fingers, "Stay away, the devil," like, right? Because they don't understand, right? But properly understood, it means your asset operates in alignment with your values. Okay, so it comes back to the same principle. If you're a true believer, 10%, regardless, 10% is 10%. 10% of a dollar, 10% of 100, 10% of 1,000, 10% of 100,000, 10% of a million. It doesn't matter. It's a principle. 10% is 10%. If you're true to it. So your capital is productive, not idle. right? We'll go back to the talents now. So it has to multiply. Remember, one key to dominionship is multiplication. Your systems multiply without constant supervision because it's on automation. Your financial influence expands beyond geographic limits. Why? Because it's global. So dominance here is not control over people. Okay. I want to make that clear because see, this is where quote unquote human beings misinterpret dominion. They thought it was dominion over people. And of course the powers to be realized, well, you know what? Let's let's dominate mankind, human beings, right? By different systems that they've created through time. And I could name a few. Well, let's talk about the financial system. Let's talk about the healthcare system. Let's talk about the education system. And I can go on. These are just systems to brainwash you, systems to control you. But that's not what God wanted for you. We are sovereign beings, and we're to be in control and have domination, have dominion over every aspect of life, over the land, over our own health, over our mind, over our family, over our finances, over our future. That was the promise. So this technology is going to help you regain control of you as a sovereign human being and live out the life God meant you to live. I'm having you understand from a different perspective the power of this era of Web3 technology and where we are, guys. You've got to harness it. You've got to. Don't be left in the dark again and let 10 years pass by. You're still in the position you are today, meaning broke with a broke mindset, still struggling, still on the 9 to 5 grinding. Don't let that be you. You have an opportunity now to literally collapse time, redeem the time you've lost, right? By being enslaved to the system. That's all I'm saying. It's a financial infrastructure that serves your mission instead of consuming your time. How much of you would, how many of you would rather own your time? Decide what you do with your time, not someone else deciding for you when you should wake up and when you should go home and how much you could spend, how much you can spend. No, you decide that. If you decide today, hey, I want to take the family and go to South America and enjoy myself and go there for a month if I choose, who's to tell you you cannot do that? No one. Only you get to make that decision. But you've got to have financial freedom in order to make those type of decisions. See, this is how the wealthy works. The wealthy knows a thing or two that the average people don't know. They understand assets and liability. And all they buy is assets, not liability. See? So we got to get into that mindset of assets, money working for us. We control our time, not money control our time. See, reclaim authority is in a decentralized world. And that's what I'm talking about. Historically, financial authority has been centralized through the banks, institutions, governments, corporate intermediaries. You guys know what I'm talking about. But the DeFi redistributes operational authority to code. When you hold your own keys, you're in control, right? It's like having a key to your car or your home. But of course, if the mortgage company or the finance company still owns it, you really don't own it, do you? They could easily take it from you. All right. Deploy your own contracts if that's what you want to do, or plug into a system that deploys their own contract. That's renounced. Participate in governance. That's the DAOs. Now we're going to hear more and more about a DAO and a DAO. This is the decentralized autonomous organizations, guys. This is powerful. Okay, you shift from participant to architect. Authority becomes technical literacy plus disciplined stewardship. Okay, so global kingdom impact, what that looks like practically. So here's how this framework scales impact. Okay, I want you to look at it this way. So I'm giving you now a perspective. Okay, automated treasury growth funds missions. It could fund education, startups, other efforts. It could fund anything. So look at it as a treasury that's an automation, just cranking out whatever it's cranking out, right? It's cranking out tokens, it's cranking coins, it's cranking out whatever, but it's cranking out money. Okay? Cross-border payments move instantly without intermediaries. This is huge. This right here is huge. When you think about it, I can tell you how many times that I had to go through a third party, an intermediary, and they're the ones decided whether or not I could transmit money. I had this happen to me literally not long ago. Um, so many of you may know I have a foundation called One Vision, One Heart Foundation. So we do a lot of work across the globe in Pakistan, South Africa, India, Philippines, here in the US. And so that's how I send money through some of these apps. And, so I'm sending money through the apps. And then so one day they say, hey, we got some questions for you. Who do you know in this country? So I had to, of course, when you send, you got to put the name of the person. But I got interrogated. Like, how do you know this person? Have you met them in person? How long have you known them? Why are you sending the money? So look, we have a foundation. We support them. You want my documents? I'll give it to you. You want what, the contact information? Of course you have it because it's in your app. What do you need for me to prove whatever you need me to prove? And at the end of it, guys, here's what happened. Well, sir, I'm so sorry, but we don't support that type of work. I'm like, what? They shut my account. I was like, literally, guys, I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. They do not support that type of work. Humanitarian work, they don't support it. I'm like, wow, okay. Even more, what I'm sharing with you right here, right? Where cross-border payments, how huge this is, okay? Where we can move instantly without these middle guys, okay? Community DAOs fund local initiative globally. And we're talking about like we the people, for the people, and the people in control, people deciding as a community. That's what a DAO is. And it's powerful when you operate with a true DAO, of course, not, where it's centralized. They say it's a DAO, but it's really centralized because they're still controlling it, right? Okay, yield from liquidity pool sustains nonprofit efforts without constant fundraising. And this is the part, sometimes I really, I get really, the ones who know me, I get really, really like worked up over this one right here. You know, you bring you bring a technology like this to help a nonprofit to say, look, you can automate your fundraisers, and here's how we could do it, right? And you help, but they reject it. Oh, we'll continue having our cookie sales and our bake sales, and we'll continue passing out the basket at church, and we'll continue having our car wash, and we'll continue doing all the traditional fundraisers, right? Well, great. Nothing wrong with that. Go ahead and raise your $100, $200 for the weekend if that's, you know. I'm showing you a way you could make $100 a minute for your nonprofit. Literally, $100 a minute, $1,000, whatever the case may be, depending on which protocol, which system, right, you plug into. But this is what I'm talking about, the mindset shift that needs to take place to harness this technology for good to support your endeavors, your nonprofit, your business, whatever it may be. See? Tokenized assets allow fractional participation in the kingdom aligned ventures. Now, this part right here is talking mainly about when it talks about fractional participation ownership is like the new phrase you guys might be hearing now, which is tokenization of real estate. And that's huge. I just came back from Dubai not long ago. My meeting was around tokenization of real estate and fractionalized ownership. And you're going to hear more and more about this. Is giving people the ability, right, and the power too. Because think about it. If you want to buy I don't know, let's just say a shopping mall, okay, a strip mall, okay. Well, in a strip mall, obviously, you got businesses that are paying rent. So you got 10 businesses and they're paying rent. You got X amount of money coming in every month, okay, minus the cost of operation. You got a little profit coming in there. So let's say that strip mall cost, I don't know. I'm just throw out some numbers just for the sake of let's say it costs $500,000, okay? And that's the cost for the mall. Now, if you're, an investor and you have the money, great, you can write a check for 500,000 or get it financed, one or the other, you got great credit. Okay, but the average person don't have $500,000. But what if we said, because now we're talking about a DAO, a community, we're talking about fractional ownership, right? We're talking about all these things in this space now, and we say, okay, $500,000, and let's say, I don't know, $1,000. I'll say the average person in our community could afford $1,000. You guys realize that's just 500 people from the community that have $1,000 each now can own that strip mall and then share in the profits every month, divided up into 500 people. This is what I'm talking about. And the ability, right? And the capability within this whole new era of Web3 and tokenization of real estate, right? So instead of asking for recurring donations, systems generate recurring yield. It's a difference. That changes sustainability, guys. You think about it. Because in this world of staking, in this world of auto trading, in this world of whatever it may be that's being developed in this world of AI and Web3 technology, right, on the blockchain, it's about recurring yield, getting a percentage back automatically. Some systems are paying by the hour or by the day. And I mean, this is what I'm talking about. So the risk, well, I got to talk about the risk too, so you guys understand there are risk in this and there's risk in everything, right? But the risk must be acknowledged. So the risk, so let's take integrity. Smart contracts are vulnerable. Market volatility, we all know in this space the market is volatile, and that goes for any market, right? Regulatory uncertainty because it's a new era, right? We're in a new space. They're still trying to figure out how to regulate a lot of what we're talking about today, even tokenization of real estate, impermanent loss in liquidity pools if it's not properly structured and well thought out. And I'm just sharing this so you guys have things to talk about or think about, pardon me, if you're considering jumping, head in all in this space. AI model misalignments, governance capture. So dominion without discernment becomes recklessness. Can we repeat that? Dominion without discernment goes hand in hand, right? Because discernment was one of the uh, key things that Solomon asked for, right? So dominion without discernment becomes recklessness. So stewardship requires education. Educate yourself, get the knowledge, get the understanding, okay? Risk assessment, always weigh it out. What are the scenarios? Scenario one, scenario two, all right? Gradual scaling, code audits. Of course, you wouldn't be doing code audits unless you do, but make sure some of these contracts are audited, right? So, but there are companies that will do it, and you can look at the audits. Transparent governance, of course, is key, and automation multiplies outcomes. Automation multiplies the outcome, so it multiplies wisdom and mistakes alike. So, we're almost done here. So I just wanted to give you guys just a different perspective and understand the power of Web3 technology and what we're in and the space we're in right now. So at its core, this is not about crypto. It's about transition from labor-driven survival, which most of us are in survival mode out there. I'll say the majority of us are, okay, to system-driven multiplication. And multiplication is one of the main ingredient to dominion. All right. From emotional financial cycles, which many of us suffer from, to discipline and coded principles. From centralized dependency, so you're not dependent on a system, on a job, anything centralized that's controlling you, but decentralized responsibility. See, the parable of the talents was never about money, it was about trust, responsibility, and multiplication. The first time in history we have programmable infrastructure that can embed those principles at global scale. And the real question becomes, will we use decentralized technology for speculation and short-term gain? Or will we design transparent, value-aligned systems that multiply resources for long-term impact? See, the tools now exist. And again, I'm coming back to that word. Money is a tool. The design is up to the steward. Money is a tool. I'm just showing you a new way. Let me stop sharing here. I think I'm done here. Stop share. Yeah, so I'm just introducing you to a new way of making money in this whole era of Web3. So harness it, embrace it, learn it, learn. There's so much to learn in this space. I'm not saying go on information overload, but I'm saying at least learn, get the knowledge, get an understanding so you can make wiser decisions. And I know there's a lot of platforms out there that are scam, right? They're developed for one purpose alone, rug pulls. They're designed for one purpose, an exit plan, right? That's why I say your responsibility, right, is to do your own homework too, and make sure that you everything I just shared, you're looking for, these values, these principles before you jump in. Now, for me, since 2015, I've been in this space. I've really done deep dive. I've received literally spiritual downloads on tokenization of ecosystems that I've written 3 white papers on. So I understand it. And try what I just shared with you. All right, think about this for a second. Try explaining this in 2017. I got in trouble for it, believe it or not, when I got a download to how we could literally tokenize, right, and incentivize acts of kindness through tokenization. I wrote a whole app, a white paper. I built out the app, what that would look like, and how, let's say someone, let me turn my camera on for you guys. And I wrote out the white paper and drew out the schematics. Actually, I could pull it up and show you. Back in 2017, I did all this. And I showed in the app it was a drip, a faucet will drip these tokens, right? The miniature tokens. But let's say, for example, LD needed their landscaping. Maybe the grass is growing over their house. I'll say, okay, we needed 10 volunteers to come do the landscape, clean up this yard. We'll reward you with 50 of our tokens, validated with either a picture, a video, something validated. Once they validate it, right, we'll drop the tokens in their app. They have the tokens. Then the next step will we go to the local business because we wanted to help local businesses. And so, look, if you accept the tokens, we got a community we're building. We'll send business to you because this will be business that they didn't have. You accept the tokens, right, and give them a discount, and it's a win-win for you and a win-win for our community members because we're incentivizing acts of kindness through what the model we're building out, and we're helping you, and it was just a beautiful thing, man. And I had people that was willing to help me contribute, and guys, I got in trouble. My attorney says, stop what you're doing because we don't understand what you're doing. Today we understand it, right? Today we can understand it. But in 2017, they couldn't understand it. But that's what I'm saying, forward thinking and seeing the future and where things are headed, right? And I'm just bringing you to a greater awareness of where we're headed so you can position yourself to create true wealth for you and your family with Web3 technology because we're in the infancy stages. That's where we are. Okay? So don't say Dr. Steve didn't tell you. You're already in the space. You're here today because you're in the space. But now you're just getting a greater understanding of the space, and we're just at the beginning. So, anyways, this is just training number one of many of this new download. And I got this literally, guys. I'm working on some other projects, and it was just a few days ago. I was like, I'm posting some messages on social media about just believing in yourself and trusting God for the outcome, right? For everything you believe in to manifest in a greater way. Because we are in an era of open heavens and things are really happening fast, the speed of thought, literally. Quantum quantum speed, I call it, right? And that's the speed heaven. And I'm watching things just unfold. I'm like, wow. But I don't want to take away, the spiritual part of what I'm sharing on social media because it's there to me because of a lot of things I share, me dying and coming back to life. I shared a lot of those different stories on social media that happened to me and all these spiritual experiences. But I want to harness that with this era of Web3 because I understand it. And I know we're shifted. I know this paradigm shift is taking place. But I don't want people to miss out. I don't want them to lose out like in Web3 and Web2, but to understand Web3 is not a bad thing, right? We know in the hands of bad people, bad things are happening. That's world. Just today, I mean, what they just bombed, Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Qatar, and those like, oh my God, here we go again. So we can't control what's happening in the world, events of the world, right? The only control we have is the decisions we make for ourselves and our families and our loved ones, and we just have to, do the right thing, make the right decisions. and then trust God for our protection because He'll protect us, no matter what's going on in the world, right? So that's all we can do. So point being is that I wanted to tie the two, and it is like the light bulb went on, and taking these biblical principles in with the technology to bring a greater understanding of how we harness it, but still be true to our different principles or values, no matter what faith you are, right? Or you can just be a good person and have certain values, but still stay true to it, but harness this technology. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, let me stop share.